Welcome to Expedition Networking, a special segment of the Networking RX podcast. I'm Frank Agan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections, and your host for this program. For those of you who are familiar, on the Networking RX podcast, we share information and have conversations with experts, such as authors, researchers, and social scientists. And all of these programs are aimed at helping you learn how to become better at building professional relationships and understanding why they work. In this Expedition Networking segment, however, we're going to bring on successful entrepreneurs and unique professionals and explore their networking adventure and learn how they used relationships to create lasting success. Today on Expedition Networking, we have Ellen Volpe. Ellen is the founder of American Business Associates, and that's the longest running professional management B2B, business-to-business networking organization in the New York metropolitan area. She's dedicated to working with entrepreneurs, business owners, and sales executives to help them create successful, profitable businesses and close more sales. This year, the organization is celebrating 33 years in business. And she was recently inducted into the Long Island Business Hall of Fame. She is widely known in the business community as a skilled facilitator who has the ability to help people increase sales opportunities or selling opportunities through a structured approach to relationship building. She provides the members of the ABA, or American Business Associates, her members, with a structured marketing program that creates a constant source of prospects and referrals and keeps its members motivated and energized. She's conducted literally thousands of business meetings, and many of the people she's worked with have mentioned her name and referred her. Many of her clients have remained with her for over 25 years, and that's goes back to the Clinton administration. We're recording on January 20th, the inauguration today, so that goes back a ways. She has documented testimonials that reveal ABA is directly responsible for starting numerous strategic business partnerships for members and generating millions of dollars of sales. She also does a lot in the nonprofit sector. She's recently been welcomed to the board of the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, and she supports many of other local not-for-profits. Ellen, welcome to the program today.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful introduction. And yes, I would just like to acknowledge today, looking to build more perfect union among us all, and to respect and protect this treasure that we all have with America's promise. And from a business perspective, there's so much opportunity now, and I'm just so happy that you have me here today.
Well, good. 33 years. I joke about it, but 33 years. We start. That's the Bush administration, the first Bush administration. Tell us how you got started in it, and what's keeping it going. What drives you?
Yeah, thank you. So I like to say longer than most marriages last. And I probably know more about the people that have been with me the longest than their family knows of them. But I do like to share that I inherited my great aunt when she was 97. And Sue came with a box of family artifacts, like a shoebox. And I happened to go through it, looking at pictures and birth certificates and all sorts of family documents. And I found a business directory from 1923.
Wow.
And discovered that my grandmother had a network in Lower Manhattan in 1923. Members and all, their addresses, phone numbers, when they met, what dates they were to come to meetings. And it was really ironic for me because, again, I've been doing this for 33 years and it's in my blood. You ask what keeps me going and perhaps what my secret sauce is. And I just think that When you have the position that you and I both hold, that is observing people in relationship and determining really what their futures can be when they do take the time that's necessary to establish the relationships and maintain them, it's life-changing, life-altering, and certainly giving people a gift that is worth the time and effort. Let's put it that way. ABA, I like to pride myself in saying, is a very high touch, very personal organization, which is, I think, one of the reasons why people stay, why new people come into the environment, because it's authentic, it's real. People are willing to come in service. They're curious. They're interested in other people. They read. They're always looking to improve themselves. And it's a very attractive place to be. And I feel like I'm preaching to the choir with you in particular, because I know you and I have a very similar approach to how it is we not only create, but maintain our own relationships.
No, obviously this is a conversation, and I don't see you as preaching to me, but I love the fact that you can come on and you can share a similar experience from a state that's 3 states away. Mm-hmm. The East Coast is different than the Midwest, but people are people. And hearing what you have to bring, what you bring to your members, and what we bring to the AmSpirit members. People realize Frank's he's not all cracked up, right? I mean, there's some basis to what we do, and your members will hear it as well. So I think that's great. Networking. When did you really realize that these relationships mattered? I mean, now for you and I, it's kind of second nature. And I can kind of pinpoint where it was for me when I was, that young attorney, realizing that, it's not what you know, it's who you know and how you treat people. But how about for you? When was that moment?
Well, I come from the insurance industry, and that was very insular back in 1988. And before that, because I had spent many years in that field, and realizing that the insularity of that environment was really not expanding my knowledge of how things actually worked. Mm-hmm. I lived in my town. I worked in my community, but I really wasn't connected to it, because I got up every day and went into the insurance world where it had its own way of being. In 1988, saw, I think it was an AT&T commercial, a guy with a handset in New York talking to a woman in California. I don't know what they were talking about, but I did see the cord go across the country. And I realized that there was so much potential that was not accessible because there was lack of connection. And I think that started the Kevin Bacon 6 degrees. Yeah. Now there are no degrees. And I really do believe that there are COVID rules, and there are things that happened because we all went virtual that really need to be taken into consideration, because new connections now are very easily made. Whether or not they should be made and how much time should be taken in developing all these new opportunities without taking into consideration the balancing of the existing ones and the focus on existing ones is a question that I have in my mind today, because I do come from the world of less is more, and being focused with your network is really, I think, one of the most, it's where all the opportunities may exist. And I just am, just sort of beginning to look at COVID networking and really examining for what it is, or really potentially what it isn't.
Yeah, well, it's kind of thrown a curveball to us all, but the challenge has brought opportunity. I don't know that we meet, but for COVID, And as I start tracing back the introductions and how it all kind of started rolling together, I count back 6 steps. I don't need to go through them all, but it's somebody that I have gotten to know much better. We knew each other before the lockdown, but it provided an opportunity for us to really get to know one another. And then she connected me to somebody who, I think they live in Manhattan, who connected me to somebody who connected me to somebody who connected me to you.
Jeff Goldberg.
Yep, Jeff Goldberg. Big shout out to Jeff. We'll leave out all the other ones, but there's a lot of little connections in there. And, I don't know that it necessarily happens, but for that. But you make some good points there. Somebody said to me, they kind of got me thinking there this morning on a call. They said, sales is a numbers game. I'm ready to kind of jump through the Zoom call to say, no, it's not. And they said, it's a numbers game and the number is 1. You focus on one person. I'm like, okay, yeah, we're talking the same language. It's really all about relationships. And
I just like to respond to that for a minute.
Please, yeah.
I still meet people who think that networking is selling. And I know that some of those people.
Yeah.
I know that there are people coming into my organization, what can I say, with bad habits, not really understanding what it takes, again, to be curious and to come in service and to look for ways in which to understand each other and to potentially help each other. You can't do an end run around that. Some people do because they're transactional in nature, but those people that are having the best success are taking the time that it takes in a world that seems to be going faster and faster, where time is a premium. But knowing how to spend it, where to spend it, I think is important. I had a very old and dear friend, I don't know if it's his quote, but we can do anything, we just can't do everything. And the fear of missing out is really big these days.
Yeah.
So I'd like to sort of bring it back down to earth and understand that, to your point, relationships are really where it all happens.
If you could go back in time, senior in high school, freshman in college, what advice would you whisper in your ear?
I think that I would say be open. I meet a lot of young people that have already decided what works and what doesn't. And I know from my own experience, sometimes offering advice to younger people about how to make connection, or why don't you call this person, and how you might approach them. A lot of times there isn't the courage that one would need to actually step into something, not really knowing all about it, but being open and curious and courageous. Have the courage. What is the worst thing that could possibly happen if you do call and reach out? And, all I know is that every single time I do that, I learn something. Right. And read, be interested in others. One of the other things that I'm noticing is that people take up a lot of air in the room, not respecting that there are two sides to the conversation. And I would really, I would leave a younger person with that idea as well.
No, I think that's really important. People ask me all the time, how do you go about carrying a conversation? And my response is, it's really easy. You just get them talking, learn about them,
right.
And they say something, it's going to send you down a whole nother rabbit hole, and they love it. They love the attention.
Yeah. I don't know if it's Jay Abraham, but I think I heard it on one of his recordings. It's easier and much more fun to be interested than trying to be interesting.
Yeah.
And that always stuck with me. It's, be the host or the hostess, ask questions, and you'll be the most popular person.
When you were growing up, what did you want to be?
Oh dear. I think I wanted to work for the United Nations, and I wanted to know multiple languages.
Okay. Do you know more than English?
I actually only know English.
That's okay.
but I do know the language of relationships. So I think that really is sort of overarching.
It is the universal language. I totally agree. Totally agree with you on that. What do you do in your off time? What do you do to? I know you're in charities. Are there hiking, photography?
Well, I love to hike, but the truth of the matter is I also love to serve. And I know, like you, our business is not a 9-to-5 business, and we're always planning or connecting or doing something, again, on behalf of other people. I am involved in leukemia lymphoma. My granddaughter was diagnosed several years ago, and thank God she is recovered. And it's a great story, but I will say that all blood cancer needs to be cured. And if anybody is looking for an organization to affiliate with, they are completely amazing. You don't really have to look too far to find a blood cancer. And it's a moment of truth when somebody in your family is diagnosed, when you're always looking, knowing about it, but it's always someone else until it's not.
Yeah.
So they are really close to my heart, as well as many others that I support in my organization. We like to bring our local not-for-profits into our networks. And a lot of times in other networks, they're really sort of pushed to the side and just assumed to be a not-for-profit. But we have very active members in organizations that are supporting our local communities and the people in them, and that we need it more than ever now. There are more people suffering, there are more people sick, there are more people homeless, and those of us that are in a position and who've not been necessarily touched by it need to stand up and pick an organization to get involved with.
Okay, great. That's an awesome segue for, to, I guess, just share about American Business Associates and how people listening can help. What could you benefit from for somebody listening?
Well, you and I know that networking is ubiquitous now. There are thousands and thousands of groups. And I remember when I started in 1988, when the first one appeared, I don't know, it might have been a LaTip group, or I actually can't recall. But I remember going, oh, they're here. And then I thought to myself, there was IBM and then there was everybody else. And so being an educated consumer in terms of groups, I think is really important, because not every group is a good group. Not every group is the group for you. And so, before people make a commitment to be in a group, they really need to understand what they're looking for, what would help them, and where their peeps are. Because, again, it's not for everybody. And you really do need to find a place that is good for you. We have multiple chapters in New Jersey, in New York, on Long Island. Our groups have a lot of longevity in them because people come. It's been said that ABA is like the Hotel California. You can leave, you can check out, but you can never leave. And I see that happen all the time. People leave for different reasons, but every so often somebody brings up someone else's name about transactions and business that's taking place. Our groups are again, very mostly relationship oriented, because if the relationships are established, if there's frequency with them, then the business will come. In particular, if the person involved is focused enough, can articulate enough what their needs are, what they're looking for, in not a general way, but in a specific way. I see that happen all the time. Specificity when you're networking is really important. You can't take a broad brush to your category and assume that people are going to be able to refer you.
Yeah, that's a very good piece of advice. Best way to get a hold of you or learn about your organization, the website, aba-newyork.com.
That's it.
Okay. I'll put that in the show notes.
We have a registration, and people can fill it out. I'm in New York. Those of you who are listening that are interested in making connections in New York, you can reach out to me. It's ellen@aba-ny.com. We just love to build bridges, which is why Frank and I are talking.
Yep.
We're both really doing similar work, and I hope to have more conversations with you, Frank. Love the book that you sent me, Foundational Networking. And those of you who haven't heard about it should go and get it. It's a great book because it really is based on what it is we have been talking about. That is getting to know people, establishing rapport with them, and establishing trust with them, because without the T word, it's not happening.
Yep, I totally agree. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much, Frank. Love being with you.
To wrap things up, remember, we're looking for some enterprising business types to join our team as franchisees of AmSpirit Business Connections. Our franchisees work with entrepreneurs, sales representatives, and professionals in their area to help them become more successful through networking and the exchange of quality business referrals in a structured weekly morning meeting. This is a unique franchise opportunity, you see, because these meetings are in the morning. A successful business type or professional can add this franchise opportunity onto what they're already doing. Again, all of our franchisees do something else. For a couple hours in the morning, a few mornings a week, these franchisees work the AmSpirit Business Connections model. The rest of the time, they're attorneys, accountants, realtors, coaches, and consultants of various kinds. The wonderful thing is that not only do our franchisees realize a financial gain from operating the AmSpirit Business Connections model, but the business networks that they build and develop become a great source of referrals for their primary business as well. Perhaps you know someone, perhaps you are that someone. Whatever the case, to learn more about the AmSpirit Business Connections franchise opportunity, please contact me using the email in the show notes or the one we provide at the end of this program.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.